Hi and welcome, Todd Cahill. You're listening to the It's Not Out There, but It's In You podcast, where on this podcast we talk all about the battles that we all face in our life and really how the battles that we face affect us and how we can think differently about each battle and start redefining its meaning so we can start relinquishing its power over us. See, it's a choice you have to make every day to become the best you. So we want to help you return to the battle at hand, the issues that you face, redefine what their meanings are, and then repeat the cycle over and over in order to keep winning the battle that you face. So stay tuned. So glad you're here. Thanks for listening. Hey, and welcome. Todd Cahill here. You're listening to the It's Not Out There, It's In You podcast. And, hey, really pumped that you're actually listening to this. I wanted to actually share a couple of things that I wanted you to know about before we go into episode 4 of You Versus Your Knowledge, which I'm super pumped for you to listen. This is a new podcast, and me being a new podcaster, it's definitely been You Versus Your Knowledge for sure. Learning how to, first of all, do a podcast, get the equipment for the podcast, share it with the world, share my message with the world. And of course, I'm so thankful and grateful to you as the listener. I hope you get a ton of content and ton of value out of this podcast. And, who really can benefit from this podcast? Obviously the title speaks for itself. It's not out there, it's in you. I think anyone that's really seeking, especially going into a new year, the challenges that life presents itself with, the battles, whether it's your finances, whether it's your promises, whether it's keeping your word and you're going against your word and not even realizing it. Maybe it's your routine you struggle with. Maybe it's your calendar. Maybe it's your knowledge. And of course, we're going to talk about that today. Maybe, it's not about knowing it all. It's about knowing where to go to get the right information to make you successful and to how to apply that knowledge that you get. So whatever their battle is, I actually wrote about a book, You Versus You, the 12 Ways to Kick Your Own Ass and Win. And I talk about 12 specific battles. You versus your persona, success, dreams, routine, calendar, finances, freedom. By the way, finances is something that I've taken recent polls. Most people struggle with that. So definitely excited about episode 3, which just dropped last week. You can also listen to that. That's all about you versus your finances, you versus your promises, you versus your health, which is a huge one. You versus your relationships, obviously, is definitely in the top 3 battles that we're going to face in this life. And you versus your knowledge, like I said, is this episode. And then you versus your future. So I'm excited to every week bring really good content, a lot from my book and a lot from my experiences of just the past many, many years of being an entrepreneur, being a father, being a husband, being a coach, a mentor, a speaker, and now an author. And I will say, if you haven't checked out my new website, youversusyoubook.com, check that out. That has the new book trailer and some offerings there for you. We want you to win the head game for sure. That's why I do this. My passion is to help people unleash the winning mindset within them, because I know what it's like to be on the other end of that, by not having a winning mindset and being filled with anxiety and fear and even depression and anger and not knowing, and maybe you're a driven person, but you don't know where to go. And that's what this episode is really about. It's really for the person that is very motivated going into a new year. They're very driven. They want to lose weight. They want to get in better financial shape. They want to keep their promises, meaning they do what they actually say they're going to do. And just keep listening. Every episode we're going to drop really ways for you to win these specific 12 battles. And like my subtitle says, kick your own ass and win. So that's my prayer and wish for you, is you kick your own ass, maybe not literally, but, and really understand how to win, how to operate in a level of victory in your life that you've never operated from. And of course, going after your dreams and goals. And, there is so much fear, there is so much anxiety with a lot of that. So we want to really take that away as much as we possibly can through this podcast. So you know what you're getting when you listen to this podcast. It's not just a bunch of personal development information all over the place. It's very specific to really helping you win the battle within. Because my experience and really the education that I've received through the hard knock life and really going through being an entrepreneur for a decade and a half is, it's all about your mindset. If you don't have the right mindset, then, you're not going to be in physical shape. You're not going to have great relationships. You're not going to, or they're not going to last. If you don't have vision, like the Bible says, you will perish. Maybe not literally, but relationships perish, dreams perish, finances perish, friends perish, and or literally get out of your life because of lack of vision. So in this episode, I really want you to really not only listen, but to apply to your life. And I'm really pumped for you to do that. Hey, do me a favor before we get into episode 4. And again, hope you enjoy it. Rate this podcast. Really looking to get as many 5-star ratings as I possibly can. We definitely want to continue to bring the message to hundreds, thousands, and eventually my goal is in the millions to listen to this message, to share this message, and to also pick up my new book that drops February 19th. I just get word from my publisher a couple of weeks ago, or a week and a half ago, that one of my childhood dreams, teenage dreams is to be in Barnes & Noble. And we are in Barnes & Noble on February 19th, where you can pick up my book. You can also buy it on youversusyoubook.com right now. Get yourself a copy or more. You can pre-order it. And again, kind of just an ethical bribe out there, go to that website and you can actually have some more offerings. I'm also excited to announce that starting in the beginning of January, I'm going to be doing live webinars all over the internet, all over social media. That is going to be different than the podcast. The podcast is just me really sharing a lot of great content with you with not too many asks at all, actually. Just obviously getting the resource. My book will help you go along with the podcast so that it's just a lot more, for you, it's a better understanding. It's really your playbook, and I'm very athletic minded. So it's like, okay, I love the game of football, but I'm sure Tom Brady does too, and all the great players, but you have to have a playbook. You have to have something to look at and study, and also go out there. And yes, of course, we all want to win the game if we're in the NFL, but you have to know strategy, and have to know how to execute that strategy. So You Versus You, the 12 Ways to Kick Your Own Ass is definitely a playbook that I really encourage you to pick up now. And of course, it would mean the world to me getting yourself a copy, sharing it, tagging me on social media. My Instagram is Todd M. Cahill, Cahill, and also Facebook, Todd Cahill, my business page, fan page, whatever you call it. And we also have You Versus You Instagram page, the 12 Battles, You Versus You 12 Battles, and also on Facebook. So definitely share a like, share a comment. Love to hear from you, who you are. So you definitely can find me on the internet, on social media, and love to hear your story. And if there's anything I could do to help you win the battle outside of obviously the resource of the podcast and the book, please DM me, let me know, inbox me, email me, wolf me if you watch my favorite show, The Office. But anyway, you could do whatever you want, but I'm here to help support you in your dreams and your mission and your goals. That's what I do. I have a heart and a passion for people like you and like everyone else out there that's looking for the knowledge, but maybe they don't know what knowledge to get or how to apply it in their life. And that's exactly what this podcast is for. Again, it's not out there, so stop looking. It's in you, okay? It's right here in you. Stop looking for other people to give you the validation. Stop looking for other people to give you permission. That's what that means. Everything that you need to know is in that brain of yours. You just have to turn it on, and you have to turn either the left side on or the right side on, and just open up your mind and also open up your heart. And once the student is ready, the teacher will appear. So it looks like you are open right now. That's why you're listening to this. So again, we thank you. And again, go buy my book, pre-order yourself a copy, You Versus You, the 12 Ways to Kick Your Own Ass and Win. You can go to www.youversusyou, that's YOUVSYOU book.com, youversusyoubook.com. So here it is, episode 4, You Versus Your Knowledge. Okay, hey, welcome to this free live training webinar. My name's Todd Cahill, and I'm excited. I got my headset on just so that you can hear me loud and clear, so I don't have to really shout here in my home office. It's like a little nook in our house, and kind of designed my little home office here with my books and kind of do a lot of my work. So I'm really excited about spending an hour with you, and I want to just first of all thank you for spending time with me on your night, your evening, wherever you're joining us across the world, across the country. First of all, this is a webinar that's going to talk a lot about you versus your knowledge. And the reason I put you versus your knowledge is really in part of my book, You versus You, the 12 ways to kick your own ass and win. Okay, so this book comes out February 19th, and I'll get to a little bit of that in a second. But I did want to share just my quick Dun & Bradstreet story. A lot of you have never met me, and you're probably watching this webinar. Maybe it was through an ad on social media. Maybe you follow me on social media, Facebook and Instagram, whatever it is. And I just want to thank you so much for that, because my heart definitely is to help you. My heart is to take a lot of my challenges that I've had in my life, just like you've had, and first of all, win those, or do my best internally to win the battle within, so that I can, have that success and that achievement, and be able to tell people, what I did to have that success and achievement. Whether it's been in business, I've been an entrepreneur now for over 15 years, whatever it is. So today we've selected one of the 12 battles, you versus your knowledge. And I think it's such a great one to share in my very first webinar, because this is my very first webinar. So, oh my gosh, how many of you out there are totally not technology savvy? I know I can't see you, but raise your hand, okay? You don't even know how to turn your phone on. Some of you are incredibly technology savvy, and I need to be. Being an author, having a book coming out, and really wanting to share my message more and reach more people, I've got to figure this stuff out. So the past 3-4 weeks, I've figured out ClickFunnels. I figured out a way to get my message across more with Facebook ads and Instagram ads. I mean, sometimes I feel like an idiot, honestly. And I know you've been there, right? And you don't want to be looked at as a fraud, because most of the time you're like, oh yeah, I know how to do that. Oh, of course, I know how to do that. But that's what I want to share, is really you versus your knowledge. And got a lot of content to share with you today. So what I'm going to ask is to properly set up this webinar, and just ask you if you could do me a favor. First of all, if I have your permission, I would like to really share some information with you, and kind of in a way coach you. I know it's not an official coaching call, and I didn't promote it that way, but I would just like your permission if I can just share with you today my heart. And if I can just give you a little bit of what I worked on so hard writing this book, You versus You, and actually taking for the very first time ever one of the battles, because there's 12 battles that I've written in this book, and how to really kick its ass, how to really beat you versus your knowledge, because it's kind of it's definitely an interesting battle to not only write about, but talk about. What is you versus your knowledge, right? And I'm going to get to that in a second, because I think it is very interesting, because what you know might not be the information that you need to have anymore. And a lot of it might be outdated. Some of the knowledge that you have actually might be wrong. I was just talking to my friend the other day. Franklin Roosevelt's last name, I thought it was Delano. It's actually Delano, okay? So for something that you've actually thought of for years and years and years, and then maybe you kind of get older or whatever, and you realize, oh my gosh, everything that I thought was true wasn't true, and now you're wrong. How do you feel, right? Do you get angry about that, And that could be something that maybe has hurt you in the past, maybe just lack of knowledge or the wrong knowledge. So I'm really going to hit on that today. But a little bit about me, and this is important, so I'm not here just to share about me, but I actually wrote, and I'm going to be looking at my notes here, because this is a webinar that I don't have a lot of PowerPoint slides. I don't know about you, maybe you love PowerPoint slides when you listen to webinars or watch webinars, and I totally get it. But I would rather you, for the first time, kind of see my face and kind of see, who I am. And really, I'm just going to look at my notes. I have really a couple pages here of notes, and I'm going to look down. So apologize if that's a little distracting. But I just want to make sure that, I really hit on some of the major bullet points that I believe are going to help you going into a new year. But a little bit about myself. I've been in a thing called network marketing. If you've never even heard of network marketing or tried network marketing, it's definitely, I'll put it this way, it's one of the hardest things that a person can do. You have to learn a lot. You have to really learn certain skill sets. And I started in 2004, and I was really broke. And I think that's important to share with you, because I was so broke. I had no job. I had no home. I was living futon to futon basically in San Diego. And I was 23, college dropout, didn't even graduate college. I went to a few different colleges as well. And I was an athlete. That was my background. So I was very teachable. I had a very teachable heart. Of course, that's always a challenge for all of us, because even if we say we're teachable or coachable, when the truth comes out and people are put in the spot, even by your spouse or by a coach or whatever, it's kind of like, it's kind of hard to really follow through because you're like, well, I'm okay. I don't really need to learn that, or I'm doing okay. But I don't even know if I even need this webinar, Todd. But I'm going to ask you to keep an open mind because I'm going to give you tons of nuggets, tons of information that really can help you. And just like Yoda says, unlearn what you've learned. Because I think a lot of us have to unlearn the things that we've taught even as kids. Because a lot of that knowledge that we have stored in our unconscious mind, and even in our conscious mind, it's not really working for us anymore. And I'm going to share a couple examples of that we all can relate with. But for me, like I had to learn. So in the beginning of journey of my MLM career, network marketing career, I mean, I didn't know anything about sales. I didn't know anything about marketing. I didn't know anything about people, the people business or networking with other people or cold market, warm market, or how to show up or how to look or how to dress the part or how to market myself. And of course, nowadays, you hear this a lot, how to brand yourself, how to post, how to, write content, even writing a book. I never wrote a book. I never even really hardly passed English class in college. So it wasn't something that I was very good at. And I think that's the good news. I think that's the good news if you're watching this is like, even whatever you're at level right now, I don't care what age, if you're going into a new year, thinking to yourself, I got to change certain aspects of my life. I want to get wealthier. I want to get healthier, and again, it's more than just getting the knowledge. It's applying the knowledge that you're getting. But where do you look? It's not even about what you know. It's how to find the knowledge that you're looking for. That's really going to pertain to you, pertain to your life, and this wonderful thing called life that we all have. And that's where this all stems from. This is why I wrote the chapter. So, in my MLM career, I won't spare you, much more of that story. But the bottom line is I went from nothing, no money, to making millions and millions of dollars in that industry. Not because I was super talented. In fact, I would say I'm not that talented at all. In fact, I couldn't even share my story for many years. It took me 5, 6, 7 years to finally grace a stage. Now I love public speaking, but it took me years. And I'm reminded of Malcolm Gladwell's book, Outliers, when he talked about 10,000 hours. I think it's chapter 2, and it's a great book called Outliers by Malcolm Gladwell, and he's such a great author, New York Times bestselling author. And he talks about like the Beatles and how they practice and practice and practice. They started at strip clubs and they started at bars, in London, and they kept practicing. They had about 10,000 or more hours under their belt of practice, and then they really became famous. And I want to ask you, whatever that you're passionate about, whatever you're pursuing, whatever career that you're pursuing, whatever thing that you're pursuing, especially going into a new year or want to pursue, do you have the 10,000 hours already underneath your belt? And that's a great question to start this you versus your knowledge, because if it's no, then you're at the right place. And if it's yes, then you're at the right place right now. Because either way, I'm going to coach you through that. Either way, if you don't have 10,000 hours, but you want to be an author, if you already have the 10,000 hours of writing and you want to write your first book, then that's going to be a lot easier. But the bottom line is clarity to know what you want so that you can go aggressively find the right knowledge and apply it so that you can change your behavior and you can really get the kind of results that you're looking for. So, in my career, I've been 14, 15 years. I've been with 3 companies there, was a millionaire club member in all 3 companies, basically, and, very successful, which had led me to speaking, like I said. It led me to writing. And for the past 4 years, I've written so much on social media, short form, long form, got better and better in writing. And about 3 years ago, I started writing this book. Now, I'm published by Greenleaf Publishing, and this comes out February 19th, and I'm happy to say it comes out in Barnes & Noble. I'm looking forward to actually going. We live in downtown Chicago as well. We have 2 homes, and our little apartment in downtown Chicago, I literally can walk a block or two to the local Barnes & Noble, and I'm looking forward to walking in there. Because really a lot of my story was not learning from textbooks in college and high school. I wanted to become an entrepreneur. I wanted to become a millionaire. I wanted to become a multimillionaire. I wanted to travel the world. I want to live life on my terms. So I actually, on a bicycle, when I was no job, no car, got my car repossessed and everything, I used to ride my bike a couple miles in San Diego to go to Barnes & Noble back in 2004. And I used to read incredible financial books and stuff that I didn't have the money to pay for at the time, but I kept reading and reading and reading them. And now I get to walk into Barnes & Noble in February, a block or 2 next to my house, and pick up my book. Now, this is a paperback book. My actual book is going to be hard copy. This is just an ARC, advanced reader copy. I have just a few hundred of these. But the advanced copy, or the hardback cover, is going to be awesome. Glossy. I'll have my picture of me and my wife in it and stuff. And it's going to be right there, right when you walk into Barnes & Noble. The reason I'm sharing this with you is because I had to learn all this. This isn't a brag time about me, but this is just sharing my story. This is who I am. I dropped out of college, so I had to learn all this. I had to literally make a decision and say, look, Todd, you want to be a writer because why? You want to share your message and get your message out there, some of the wins that you've had, some of the losses, some of the challenges that you've had within, but you want to be able to share your message with the world. So how do you do that? Well, you write a book. All my mentors, have written a book. And, I used to work for John Maxwell. I'm sure a lot of you have heard of him. And when I was working for him in early 2000 years, the 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership came out. And at that moment, a moment of my life, I learned how he became a bestseller. And of course, it hit the New York Times and sold 500,000 copies. Then eventually it hit 1 million copies and more. Now it's sold, I think, 10 million. Don't quote me on that, but one of the best leadership books ever written. But I literally saw from my own eyes how the Maxwell team, because I was a part of the team, actually did that. So all it comes down to is learning, and not just learning, because here's what I've seen too in my career. I've seen a lot of people get really excited about their career and making money and changing their life, and they love learning. I mean, people, a lot of times people just love going to school, and we know these people. You might be one of them. Maybe they're analytical, and they kind of use a lot of their left side of their brain instead of the right side of the brain. The right side is really creative. That's kind of like our, the vision that we get, and the imagination, right? Like the Walt Disney imagination. That comes from the right side of the brain. The left side is very analytical. It's very reality and stuff like that. So I think a lot of times we use we don't use both. I think God's given us the left and the right, obviously, for a reason, because we can also be analytical, we can be real, but we also can know, okay, this could happen, and I can create this future for myself, and I can really dictate my own future because of the actions that I take in a realistic way. But I think sometimes people get too analytical, they analyze too much, and they just read hundreds of books, and they go to all these seminars, they go to every webinar they can get their hands on, their eyes on, and they're constantly being a student. They got their notepad and pen, and they're just taking notes, right? Maybe that's you right now. You're just taking notes. You're not really listening to what I have to say. You're just taking notes, bullet pointing. Oh, that's a great nugget. And then you write these notes, and then you go grab some dinner, and then you start your week off. And then you never go back to those notes. Or more importantly, you never apply what you've learned. And I've seen a lot of these people over the years. So here's, I think, one of the skill sets that I've developed. I want to share it with you because this has helped me win the battle of you versus your knowledge. First of all, be open. Okay, that's one of the skill sets that I want to teach you today is be open to new information. Don't be so closed-minded. I deal with this so much with in the entrepreneur world. Not so much now in 2018 and 2019, but back, let's say 2004, 2005, 2007, even 2008, a lot of people still were like, oh, the stock market won't crash. And come September and October 2008, it did crash. And I remember even watching people that I looked up to on, all MSNBC and CNN and stuff, and they were getting in arguments with the anchors and some of these right-sided people of the brain. They were just saying, look, your money's not safe. I mean, it is going to crash. And they're predicting all this, and people were laughing at them, and it all came true. And there was actually books even written before the crash that it was going to crash, and they were not bestsellers. Let's just put it that way. So the bottom line is you got to be open to information, and you got to be open to even realize that the information that you've learned over the years might not be working for you. And let's assess that real quick, if you don't mind. Of course, let's get into the notes right now on this free webinar training, you versus your knowledge. Let's just talk about that. So I know a lot of you are different, and I know a lot of people that even watch the replay and watching this, down the road. We all come from different backgrounds. We all come from different upbringing, schooling, different universities. Maybe we didn't go to college. Maybe you did go to college. Some of you have master's degrees and bachelor's degrees. I mean, you have every degree that you can ever imagine, right? So I'm just sharing my perspective, and I'm just sharing what I know. So again, I don't want to offend anybody because I know that this is definitely a sensitive topic because we all have a different upbringing. But I think if you look at America specifically, and if you're not from America, I apologize, but I think you can relate to this because you know the American culture. The American culture, ever since, World War II and after World War II, is you need to go to school, okay? You need to really do well in high school, and you need to go to college, whether it's a local college or a university, and then you pay good amount of money. And your parents save up for this. They have a college fund. They're even taught, by financial people, you need to have a college fund for your children, which is not bad advice at all, even today, right? That's good advice because college is not just to learn. It's for the social life. It's for the networking. It's for the relationships, et cetera, sports, whatever it is. So we've been taught for decades and decades and decades coming from your grandparents that you should go to school and you should really work hard to get good grades and spend 50,000, 100,000, 150,000, or even $250,000 or more for that 4-year degree. Okay. And then after that degree, you want to play what's called the resume game. You want to go to big corporations like maybe Google or Apple or real estate company, whatever it is, like whatever your passion is, you need to really give them a piece of paper. It's called a resume, right? So here's my resume. And of course, 100% of us are going to make us sound way better than we really are, right? And that's just kind of the resume game. It's kind of like, this is me, but times 10, because I'm really cool and you should hire me because I'm awesome. And, you're putting in like the Glee Club, dance club. I mean, everything that you can put, working out, I work out a lot, whatever, that you can put into the resume. And then you're hired. Okay, congratulations, you're hired. Even nowadays, you post on social media, like you get hundreds of likes if you get a new job. Everyone's so happy for you. All right, and then your life begins. And let's say around this age, you're about 23, 24, 25 years old. Here you are, bachelor's degree. And again, I'm not knocking this because it's pretty impressive that you go for 4 years, but just follow me on this, especially now, because this is a time-sensitive issue in the world that we live in. You have a bachelor's degree, then you go into your master's class and even getting your doctorate, whatever. And let's say you're mid-20s or even could be 30 and you just spent $500,000 on your education. Now you got to pay those loans off. Even if you file bankruptcy, that and taxes are really the only loans that you cannot file bankruptcy. You have to pay. You could defer them, but you have to pay your college, obviously, loans. So here you are, 25 years to 30 years of age, okay? And of course, maybe throughout this process, you met a girl, you met a guy, and you want to settle down. And you probably lived it up in college. You've probably had a lot of fun. Maybe those drinking days are over, right? You kind of want to, maybe there's a baby on the way. Maybe you already have a son. Maybe you already have a daughter. And maybe those deferred, college loans are coming back now. Now you have to start paying them monthly. Maybe it's $1,000 a month, $4,000 a month, $3,000 a month. And you're just like, oh my gosh, I got to step up here. So now you're at that job. But the problem is they start you lower level. No one starts at the very top, okay? And even if you have some experience at that age, 25, 30, you're always going to start mid-range or below. You're never going to be the CEO of a company or anything like that. So you get started, and again, make a long story short, this is what happens to a lot of people. They get themselves in credit card debt because after taxes, they don't even take the tax part in. They're only, really making, let's say $100,000 a year. 2% of the world makes $100,000 a year, believe it or not. Let's even just say conservatively 5% of the world. That's a very low percentage. But it really is about 2% of America in the world makes $100,000 or more a year. And what is $100,000 a year? It's $8,333 a month. That's right, $8,333 a month. That's it. And that's before taxes, right? That's before. It's crazy. So after taxes are taken out, that's about $5,500 a month, maybe $6,000. You, your spouse, your child, your children, your Costco, your cell phone, your mortgage, your rent, your car notes, your clothing, your entertainment, your travel, your airfare, it all adds up. And most of that money, if not all of it or more, is gone at the end of each month. Okay. Now I knew this because I just can see around, because a lot of your knowledge is observation, intuition. And if you don't know how to use intuition, I think we all have it. I think we have it, but we need to use it. And it's really that gut feeling. So when I was in college, I had a gut feeling that I knew that this was kind of BS. I was a marketing major. I knew if I keep going to school and keep paying this, huge fee to be here, I'm just going to get a marketing job. And then I'm going to have to, 10 years, 20 years, put it in. And who knows, I might get fired. There's no job security at all. And again, this is a you versus knowledge. This is just an example. I'm going to use a lot of different kind of examples. This is just one that kind of pertains to me, but I think you can relate to it just when it comes to your finances, because that's another battle, is the knowledge and perspective that you even have on money. And again, going back to World War II and, the great America that it was back in the 40s and 50s and 60s and 70s and 80s, that's what your parents were telling you. You got to go to school, get good grades to get a good job. Well, here we are in 2018 and 2019. You can make money literally just posting pictures now on Instagram. There's people, celebrities that make $100,000, $150,000, and a lot of them are not even celebrities. They became a celebrity maybe through their looks, maybe through content, maybe through whatever, right? They became a celebrity. Maybe they have something to sell, maybe a great product that people like, and they just start selling and making hundreds and hundreds, if not millions of dollars. Starting an app. Instagram was an app started by two young guys back in the day. Facebook bought it for $1 billion a few years ago. Facebook is just Snap. I mean, think about that. Half the world, if not more than 3/4 of the world, is on Facebook right now, and it's just an app. So think about how the world has changed really in the past 10 years. I'm reminded to share this story with you, Blockbuster. And I wrote about it in my book. And what's interesting about Blockbuster is a guy by the name of Reed Hastings, actually was renting the movie Apollo 13, and he forgot to bring it back and got a late fee. Now, how many of you remember Blockbuster? We spent probably a lot of our Friday nights at Blockbuster, and it's just interesting because I used to love Blockbuster. I still do. I wish there kind of was a Blockbuster, and you might say, "Oh, that's crazy." There's Netflix. You could just pressure. I kind of like driving there. I'm just one of those weird people. But of course, yes, the late fees and the charges and the $30 a month or $40 a month is a lot worse than Netflix, which is probably I think now $12.95 a month or something. It used to be $9.95 a month. But this guy, Reed Hastings, he got pissed. He got upset. And what did he do? With his background and his military background and, in his technology background, he started sending out and mailing DVDs. Remember those days where we get a Netflix DVD and you have to send it back, but you could just kind of walk to your mailbox instead of getting in your car and going to Blockbuster? And then they streamlined it and put it on your phone. Well, they created the app, right? And Blockbuster, here's the problem. Blockbuster wasn't open to learning more. And I think they would have survived if they created their own app, the Blockbuster app, the Blockbuster Netflix, right, back in the day. But they didn't. They just overcharged more. They raised their fees to, make more money, and now they're out of business. I think there's one more Blockbuster left in Alaska. I remember seeing that on social media somewhere a few months ago. But it's a sad day when that Blockbuster closes. It really is. I mean, again, great company, loved it, but they just didn't take what their old knowledge. It was like the old school, and they didn't go from old self to new self, and they really now diminish. Same thing with working with Sears and J.C. Penney. Kodak's out of business so we can even see in the business world this happens all the time. How about this? How about in a marriage? And I can speak to a little bit of authority on this. I was married before. I'm married now to my second wife, who's amazing and it really is my dream wife, and I love her to death. But what I've learned in all the mistakes that I made in my first marriage really has helped me become more aware in my second. But I am dealing with the national statistic that your second time around in marriage, you're a lot more likely to get divorced the second time around than the first time. And then your third marriage is going to be obviously a lot more, statistically, negative for you that you're going to divorce. And it just gets worse and worse and worse. Because the problem is you can't just, for instance, and you see this a lot, you get married and, and maybe the divorce is your fault, maybe it's her fault, maybe it's both of your faults, maybe his fault, whatever it is, right? And you might not change. And then you might just be all bent out of shape for a year and you're upset or depressed or lonely. And then you find the love of your life, right? You find a wonderful woman, a wonderful man, and you start dating again. And it's like, oh my God, I'm so happy. You start posting about each other, taking some selfies, and, oh my, it's getting romantic. And, you start really, really saying the L word and that you love them. And they're reciprocating that love. And maybe this is their first really serious relationship. And obviously it's your second, let's say, because you've been married before. And you're just in love, and all of a sudden, and then you get married. And then all of a sudden, they say shit hits the fan, right? Because now your true self comes out. Now all the lack of discipline comes out maybe, or the fact that you never really were clean, but you only put on a front because you just wanted, you were always on your best behavior. And that's the thing about dating. We're always on our best behavior in dating. But when it comes to, okay, I got her now, she's married, she ain't going to leave me, or same vice versa, it's kind of like we got them now, so we go back to that old self. And I got to tell you, here's the knowledge that I want to share with you. You can't be like that. If you want a newness, if you want change in your life, you have to constantly be growing. But growth comes, first of all, knowledge requires a surrender. There has to be a time when you surrender what you think you know. And it comes from this humble experience to be like, look, I might have done this well in life, but I've not so done this right or this well. And I'll share a couple other things about me. I just started a podcast. So kind of transitioning into another story here. I started a podcast. I had a coach walk me through, and he still is, and it's on iTunes right now, and I think Google Cloud, and then also Spotify. And it's the podcast is called "It's Not Out There, It's in You." But let me tell you something. About a couple months ago, I wanted to start a podcast because I wanted to do 12 episodes from each of the battles of my book, and also just share. I knew nothing about technology. I didn't know what lights to get, what headphones to get, what system to get to plug into my laptop. I didn't even know my laptop could handle it. I had to go to Apple to fix a couple things on my laptop. I literally knew nothing. I saw other people start a podcast, but I had to take that information. I literally paid someone. His name is Michael, to walk me through this whole how to start a podcast, how to do it, how to do the intro, how to get, the sound going. And you might know how to do it. You might think, well, that's not that hard. Yeah, I had to buy it on Amazon. He walked me through, where to order it. And again, it's very intimidating when you want to go to the next level, but you don't know. If you want to go to that next level and you want to grow, but you have to go through this knowledge, this curve, right, of information, and it might be overwhelming. But again, it's inch by inch. You have to understand, if you really want to win the battle of any battle that you face, especially you versus your knowledge, it's inch by inch, okay? Play by play, just like the game of football. So I had to take that perspective inch by inch. Okay, I had to order this, order that, had to come in, had to open it up, had to read the instruction manual, how to set it up myself, how to work it, get them on the phone. He walked me through how to work it, et cetera, et cetera. So all of this had to happen for my podcast. Even this webinar right now, I've had to design the websites. I've had to design the funnel. Just about 4 weeks ago, I picked up a book called Expert Secrets by Russell Brunson, and I started to learn this thing called ClickFunnels and how to really do Facebook ads and Instagram ads. I was doing a lot of boosting posts, but I didn't really know how to run specific ads, and I just started doing that. Again, the desire comes from the dream that you have. And my dream has always been a New York Times bestselling author. So even though this is going to be in Barnes & Noble and airports, Hudson News, right when you walk to JFK and LAX, it's going to be right there, in February, March, and April, etc. I needed to still learn how to market my own book. And I know it sounds weird to market yourself, right? But if I want to be a best-selling author, I got to be able to know it's 2018, 2019. I got to know this stuff. And I can hire people, but that costs money. It costs thousands upon thousands upon thousands of dollars. So a lot of the times you're not going to have the money in order for you to get to that next level. So you're going to have to take that little brain of yours and you're going to have to learn. You're going to have to apply that new knowledge, that newness that you're getting, and apply it in your life instead of that old stuff. Go to school, spend more money, read that textbook, read about history that a lot of it didn't really happen the way that you read in the history books, right? Like I said, Franklin Roosevelt's middle name, I thought it was Delano Delano, but it was Delano for all these years. So you never know. It's like, okay, what information am I really, really using effectively? So let me share another story with you. This is kind of interesting. Dick Fosbury. So have you ever heard of Dick Fosbury? 1968, I think the Olympics were in Mexico. If you're a track and field lover like I am, I actually ran track and field, and I actually broke the 4-minute mile, and I got a full scholarship to about 20 colleges to run track and field. But that's another story for another day. I was kind of upset about that because I wanted a basketball scholarship, not a stupid track and field scholarship. I just ran because of a girl I liked in my senior year in high school, and she invited me to be on the cross country team. And I said yes, because I really liked her. Well, later that year, she went to a psych ward. I'm not even kidding. So I liked her, never saw her again much after that, but I opened up my career to, I was a really good runner. And I studied a lot of track and field people. Of course, Roger Bannister, I think 1964, don't quote me on that, he broke the 4-minute mile, and kind of that lid was open up. And I think over 18 people in the next 6 months broke the 4-minute mile. So again, once somebody does it, somebody says, okay, I can do it. I have the confidence to do it because somebody set that precedent. So the you versus your knowledge can start from you. And here's another story. Dick Fosbury, he was doing the high jump, and nobody jumped more than 7-something feet at that time of the high jump. But he actually, when he did the high jump, he angled back. It's called the Fosbury Flop. So it's kind of like he flopped, but he put his butt out, but he kicked his legs up in the air and kind of rolled over, if you saw the clip, over the pole. And he jumped 1968 in the Mexico Olympics, 7.35 feet. 7.35 feet. They called it the Fosbury Flop. So again, it might take you setting the precedents to break all of your family's legacy. Like you might have a family that has done this, but you come and do this, and you really have set the precedents, and you've set the bar high, so to speak, because you broke through. You had a breakthrough in knowledge. You had a breakthrough. But look, you're never going to get the breakthrough. That's what I'm saying. You can go to every seminar. You can hire all these coaches and stuff. And that's great, okay? That's phenomenal. You can go to Tony Robbins seminars and all these wonderful things that I personally have gone to. But if you don't take what you've learned and apply it to the area of your life that you want to change, it's all useless. You should have just stayed home and watched a movie and catch up on your Netflix. I mean, honestly, it's a waste of your money and a waste of your time. But I know you're a lot like me, where you do want to get to that next level and you want to take the specific knowledge and apply it so that you can actually change your behavior. But it has to come from a passion. So let me give you another, I like metaphors, okay? So for instance, let's say back to marriage, right? So let's say your wife comes home and she says, I'm leaving you. And you said, why are you leaving me? And of course, you're probably on the couch watching your Netflix, with your beer can, and maybe you're just a lazy husband. And she says, I'm leaving you if, or let's just say she gives you one last chance, if you don't, get in shape and stop doing this to your body and start cleaning up after yourself. I'm dead serious. I'm leaving you. And you might finally, for the first time, have that self-awareness that, oh my gosh, she's serious. She really is leaving me. And you're just like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. And of course, at that point, sorries don't cut it. Actions are what she's looking for, okay? So here you are, right? Let's just say you're this situation. You start to really clean the house, not just that day, not just that week, but forever. A change behavior is about 66 days. Breaking a habit is about 21 days, okay? Just know that. So you doing it one day, that's cool, but that doesn't really mean much because the next day after that, or the next day after that, you can fall back to being that lazy husband, okay, that your wife hates. Not hates you, but hates the fact that you're like that, okay? But eventually probably will hate you and leave you, okay? So I'm just giving you kind of an example so that you can just kind of metaphor that out in whatever situation that you are in right now in your life. So that happens, right? And all of a sudden, like you take it dead serious. There's a burning desire. There's a white hot burning desire in your heart to be like, you know what? I do not want to get divorced. I don't want to end like 60% of all the other marriage couples out there. It ends in divorce because I want to for sure have the intuition and I want to have the intelligence and I want to learn. I want to read the 5 love languages. I want to learn her love language. I want to start applying it. I want to start serving her. I'm going to start doing it. I'm going to start being more aware. I'm really going to treat her like my best friend because if she really was my best friend, would you make your best, literally, let's say you're a guy and you have another dude that's your best friend, would you just kind of hang out at his house all the time and mess up his stuff and never clean up after yourself? No, that guy is going to basically say, hey, screw you, guy, right? Get out of my house, right? But why do we treat our loved ones worse than we would treat our best friend, okay? So many of you are probably understanding, yeah, I totally know that situation. I've been in that situation before. And yes, you're right, Todd. It took desire, it took an intuition, and it took this hunger to want to change and even go to counseling and even, hire somebody, maybe get coached on marriage counseling or coaching, whatever it is. And that's how the marriage is going to work because growth requires change and change requires new information. And if new information requires change and growth, that's what you're going to have to do. And it can't be for a day. It can't be for a week. It's going to have to be consistent, okay? So I just want you guys to understand what it really takes. So I want to share a couple things here in my notes relating to what my book is about, okay? So I have 3 things. And in every chapter, I outline what's called repeat, return, and redefine. So any challenge that you face, especially when it comes to you versus your knowledge, and you're like, Todd, I hear you. You're hitting some good points. I'm kind of resonating with what you're saying. So what does that mean? How am I going to be able to really do that and get myself out of the way and start to really have that attitude of the apprentice and not so much the know-it-all, right? Or the mentor. Like I want to consistently be that apprentice. Even if I've had this kind of success, I've made this amount of money, I've had this great relationship or relationships, I want to constantly be the Apprentice. Okay, I want to constantly have that hunger. So first of all, you have to return. So what return means is admitting where you are in the battle. So right now, where are you in the battle of you versus your knowledge? Where are you at? Okay, you have to admit it, obviously, to get to that next level. It's called your current reality. And Max Dupree put it great. He said, the first responsibility of a leader is to define reality. So I'm looking at you as a leader, and I'm saying you've got to learn to lead yourself first. And what is the reality that you're trying to define, right? So if you don't define it, and that's why you don't want your wife to come home one day and say, if you don't do this, I'm out, or your husband, or a friend, or a business partner. And you're like, what? Huh? What did I do? I didn't even do anything. Like, that's what everyone says, right? It's like the criminal that's in prison, and he's asked multiple times, what are you in for? Oh, I'm innocent. I didn't do anything. Sure, right. They put innocent people all the time in prison, which they have done, I'm sure, but statistically, it's going to be a lot higher than people that actually did something. I mean, give me a break, right? So you got to understand that. So you got to admit, I am an alcoholic, okay? Or I have an anger problem, or I'm not growing. I don't have intention. I don't have an intention to grow. I don't have a personal growth plan. Admit the problem that you have. And then you're going to be able to really take it to the next level. Okay, so that's return. It's okay, you just really return to that. Redefine means exactly how it sounds. Okay, redefine means how can you think about the battle differently? How can you think about you versus your knowledge differently? And how can you redefine it? It's not just going back to school. It's actually getting the knowledge, right? Let's say, starting with my book even, getting the proper knowledge that you need to learn how to conquer self. Because if you're not able to lead yourself, then how can you ever lead others? How can you ever make an impact and significant impact in the world if you're not consistently leading you? And you're not understanding or having a playbook of how to win the battle within. The 6 inches between your ears, right? If you can win that battle and divide and conquer that, then oh my gosh, and you don't even have to win your finances. You don't even have to win the battle of your relationships. If you win this, then your relationship will get better because you're going to have more intuition. You're going to have more success there. Your finances are going to get better because you're going to follow your intuition of to follow the things that you love to do and not doing things you have to do or doing things you hate to do. So again, redefining that. How can you think differently about the battle, right? And then if you redefine what it means, you can start to relinquish its power. If you really redefine the meaning of you versus you can start relinquishing its power that it has over you, that's constantly keeping you down, that's constantly making you live a life that you don't want to live, be unhappy, tear out your joy that you want to have and want to create. And I know a lot of people, believe it or not, in fact, most people, 80% of people, I would say 80-20 rule, live in a place where they don't want to live. They do things they have to do instead of want to do. They have to work jobs that they hate just to pay the bills. But they don't understand that they need to start relinquishing the power that the battle has on them so they can start winning that battle. Makes sense? And then the last thing is repeat. So repeat is the choice you have to make every day to become the best you. And that's where I want to go in you versus your knowledge here. We have 70 to 90,000 thoughts a day. So you have to choose every day to make the wise choices. And yes, I decided today to put this gray sweater on. It was Christmas. There's a little snow out in Chicago. I want to be a little bit warm, right? And I like sweaters, but that was a choice. But is that really an important choice? No. But what about the choice to be faithful to my wife? Is that an important choice? Yes. What about unless I want to die, right? Unless you just don't want to go there. Does that make sense? What about the choice to go to the gym today? Would that be a good choice? Maybe it is, right? Maybe it's not if you work out too much, right? But maybe it's a great choice. Maybe it's a great choice to drink a lot of water. Hey, I want to drink 5 or 6 or 7 of these today, whatever it is, instead of maybe the beer. Okay, it's a better choice, okay? And there's going to be some big choices in life, and there's going to be some smaller choices in life, and some in between. Maybe it's a great choice to buy books, right? Buy books and watch webinars, take notes, and maybe apply those things. That's a great choice, right? So it's repeating. You got to repeat the choice. So you don't just make one good choice, and then that's it. So repeat in the book means it's the choice you have to make every day to become the best you. You return to the issue, redefine its meaning, and then repeat the cycle over and over in order to keep winning. You're operating in victory. How about that? You're operating inch by inch in victory. And that's really the introduction of my book. I talk about the movie Any Given Sunday, an Al Pacino speech when he was a coach to the team. We got to win this game. We're in hell right now. The battle is here. In order for us to win, we got to come together as men, and we've got to win inch by inch. It's not just one Hail Mary. It's not one amazing choice that you make in life. It's not one entrepreneurial, opportunity and you're done for the rest of your. That's just not how life works. If life was that, then it would be more of a jackpot to live. Like, hey, I hit the jackpot, or and sometimes life maybe works that way. You get lucky here, or maybe something good happens to you, right? But I think all of it comes down to the choices that you make on a day-to-day basis with the 70 to 90,000 thoughts a day and what you actually do with them. So when you look at you versus your knowledge, the return on you versus your knowledge is you don't need to know everything. And that's the bottom line. You don't need to know everything. I don't need to know everything. I haven't even read all these books, okay? And this is just a little bit of a bookshelf compared to all the books in the world. I've only read maybe a handful of books compared to what's out there, right? Does that make sense? So you don't need to learn everything, but you just need to know where to find the information. You need to know where to find it. You need, again, define what you want in this life, and then you need to start looking at where you can get the right information that's going to allow you to become successful in that area of your life. It's almost like child's play. If you really think about it, if I want to be a successful entrepreneur, okay, what does that look like? Can we get a little bit more specific? What kind of entrepreneur? What's the skill set that I have to learn to become an entrepreneur in the specific capacity of where I want to go? What is my own personal capacity to learn, to grow, to be teachable, to be the apprentice? Okay, these are great questions you need to ask yourself going into a new year. Because again, for things to change, you must change. You can't keep doing the same thing over and over and over again, like Einstein says, and expecting different results, like so many people I see. In fact, the 70 to 90,000 thoughts that we have every day, 90+% of them are the same exact thoughts day in and day out. How boring of a life are we living if we're thinking about the same thing, the same problems, the same challenges, the same negative thinking, the same issues with ourselves and our self-confidence and what happened in our past and unforgiveness and all the stuff that's there, constantly thinking about it, dwelling upon it. What you focus on grows. What you focus on grows. So that is the return on you versus your knowledge. Now, the redefine of you versus your knowledge is this. In order to win the battle between you and your knowledge, listen to me very carefully. In order for you to win the battle between you versus your knowledge, you must first realize that uncharted is the best kind of territory. Isn't that cool? Uncharted waters. The Path Less Traveled by Robert Frost, my favorite poet and poem, okay? Two roads diverge in yellow wood, and I'm sorry I didn't travel both, but being a lone traveler, I stood. And he took the path less traveled by. And even when it comes to your spiritual life, I'm not trying to get too spiritual on you, but you versus your knowledge, even in the way that you perceive God, the way that, a lot of people are, well, I don't believe in God. Hey, and I respect that. You do not believe in God. But what if there is a God? Is there any empirical evidence that shows that there isn't a God? No. Is there a lot of evidence that actually shows that there is a God? Yes. Okay, and that's not me being biased, okay? That's science, okay? And you can debate that till the cows come home. But at the end of your life, on your deathbed, you versus your knowledge, you're lying there on your deathbed, and hopefully you lived a long life. Let's say you're 100, for goodness sakes, and you got your wife is still alive, or husband, your family's all around you. Are you really going to say, yeah, there's absolutely no God, but I love you? Well, God is love. All right, you might say, well, okay, now he's getting spiritual on us on the webinar. No. Look, we all are spiritual. If you don't identify the fact that you're created to manifest an incredible life and to be a spiritual vessel, and your why and your vision and your intellect and your knowledge and your desires are not just a human thing, they're of God, and God created you this way. I don't care if I'm lecturing at Harvard University right now, I'm still saying this. Because the battle within is not fought just because you're a badass person and you just win. You've got to identify why you're even here on this earth. Why are you even special? Because if there wasn't a God, you're not even that special. You're nothing. You're nobody. And good and evil is not really anything. You just live whatever life on your terms. Steal, go rob bank. There's no consequence. There is maybe in the earthly world, but not really in the eternal world if there wasn't a God. But I promise you, there's so much love around the world that there's your evidence. So I got a little serious on you for a minute because you got to understand the battle between you versus your knowledge. If you don't get this, it could cost you your life and it could cost you eternity. So going back to my notes here. Okay. A little bit serious, but in order to win the battle between you versus your knowledge, you must first realize that uncharted is the best kind of territory. We are afraid of uncharted waters. Okay. It's like being a captain, right? And you've always kind of took the same port and the same path, on the ocean, all the time, but now you're going a different way. And we don't like that. As human beings, I'm telling you, we don't like that. We go to the same restaurant. We sit at the same place at church, at Starbucks, our favorite Starbucks. We sit at the same plate. Like, we don't like, as human beings, change. Okay, so how can we change ourselves if we don't like change? That's why we have to go where no one else has gone. Does that make sense? We've got to be that leader. And then the last thing of you versus knowledge, repeat, is you must always be the apprentice, even when you become the master. And that leads me to my next story, okay? So forgive me for my sports analogies, but in 2001, the Washington Wizards drafted a guy by the name of Kwame Brown. And some of you that name might not ring a bell, but Michael Jordan rings a bell. And he was in the front office of the Washington Wizards at that time, and he's the one that was very integral in drafting Kwame Brown. Kwame Brown came straight out of high school, and this is post Kobe Bryant and stuff like that. It's 2001. I think Kobe came out of, 1997, 98. And this is kind of new still in the NBA where, this is before LeBron James even, I think around the time of LeBron James. And this kid was tall, he had talent, and of course he went number 1 in the NBA draft. And Michael Jordan called him the kid. Well, that's exactly what he was. He was just a kid. This Kwame Brown failed tremendously. And think about this. Imagine being in a situation, and this is just kind of my own take on it, where let's say it was me, right? I'm thinking to myself, okay, I'm drafted in 2001. Michael Jordan is on the general, he's in the front office, but then a year later, he comes down and starts being my teammate. Remember when he came back to Washington Wizards and played for a couple years under Larry Brown? And now he's the guy that drafted me, my hero growing up is now my teammate. And Kwame Brown still swore at his coach. He never listened. He thought he knew it all, and he eventually was traded to the LA Lakers, and then he never had any success at all really in the NBA. And he really became a laughingstock of the NBA because he had the talent, though. You don't get drafted number 1 and not have the talent. He wasn't coachable. And we're talking about his teammate was Michael Jordan, and he still was not coachable, okay? So there are just some people that just won't get it, and it's ego and whatever you want to call it, but you must always be the apprentice. If you want to repeat, if you want to make wise choices, once you identify, return and redefine, you've got to repeat, though, and you've got to repeat the fact that you always, not just sometimes, you always must be the apprentice, even when you become the master. And that leads me to the second part of that story with Michael Jordan. So how can someone retire from basketball? I want you to hear my point because it's a powerful point. And I'm going to end with this here, and I'm going to share a couple things. Wearing a suit, hasn't played since 1998, so a couple years off, goes from a suit to wearing the Air Jordans again and becoming an all-star and actually averaging 20-something high points every single game. And I actually saw him when he was a Washington Wizard when he played Atlanta Hawks, okay? This was my dream come true. He had to work so hard. He was a master already, won 6 NBA championships, also now was in the front office of an NBA organization, paused that or quit that basically, going back in the locker room of what he did many, many years, and became back to an NBA player. Got in shape, had to learn all of the systems that the Washington Wizards had. That's why Michael Jordan is Michael Jordan, because he's always the apprentice. He's always learning. That's why people like him and Magic Johnson and Tom Brady, look at Tom Brady now, constantly watching film. Peyton Manning, when he was playing, was constant student of the game. You've got to be a constant student of your game. I don't care if you're a coach. I don't care if you're a mentor. I don't care if you're a teacher. Because if you're not a constant apprentice, someone is always out to get your job. Technology is one of them. A lot of times people think of human beings are out to get us. Technology is really your enemy, okay? It doesn't have to be your enemy. But again, if you're just always thinking like, even lawyers and even sometimes doctors, like, yes, doctors are great and, But you can even get a cheaper doctor here, or this lawyers. You can get a lawyer maybe from another country that are $100 an hour instead of paying $300-400 an hour, and they can via technology, via things like Zoom, and so whatever it is, right? You've got to constantly be apprentice, because the moment you think you just arrived, and you might have arrived, don't get me wrong, massive success, and you're doing so great, but you will lose your success, you will lose your wealth, you will lose your marriage. You will, if you just have a great 5-year run in a marriage, but then the 6th year you start to be like, you kind of dwindling, your attitude changes. You're like, well, we've already had a five great years. I don't really have to put in the work anymore. You fire your marriage coach. You never go to counseling anymore. You don't go to church anymore. We've already did it. We already know what we're doing. Okay, I'm telling you, the way the world works is you're either growing or you're declining. So again, in order to win this battle, you first must surrender. So hopefully you liked my little information today, my teaching here. I'll just kind of finish this. Big ideas come from the unconscious, but have to be well informed. We have our unconscious mind. It's just stuff with ideas. It's stuff without, things that we want to do. But we got to start being well informed. We got to be able to take these ideas, these things from our unconscious mind, and bring them to life. These ideas, these inventions, these dreams of ours, these things that we want to accomplish. I know for me, it was always been a book. It's always been even what I'm doing right now, teaching on a webinar, being able to utilize technology and really get this out to the world. All this stuff, right? Taking it, hiring a coach, getting the feedback, having accountability is all part of it. So stuff your conscious mind with information, then unhook your rational thought process. I'm going to say it one more time. Stuff your conscious mind with information, then unhook your rational thought process and dream bigger than you've ever dreamed. So you versus your knowledge, okay? So action steps. I'm actually going to give you a couple action steps right from my book. And in my book, I always have in the back of it kind of like some action steps after you read. I'll just read. Always be hungry. Take a minute to write down the areas of your life you can learn more about and excel in. Under those areas, research a book you can read and a podcast or video series that will expand your knowledge, okay? So I would definitely write that down. Always be hungry. Number 2, always be humble. This is a cool option, but will take effort to make it happen. Find someone older than you who you respect and look up to and ask them to meet with you once a month in a mentorship relationship. Isn't this cool? Very few people do this, but I'm telling you, it's so effective so that you can learn from them. Also, find someone younger who you respect so you can learn from them as well, right? It's not just older and younger, people that are successful in your industry. So I've actually utilized this, and I've reached out to many New York Times bestselling authors and asked their advice, asked to be interviewed, or I interview them, and continuing to do that really in the next 2.5 months. Number 3, get out of your comfort zone, learn something new, read biographies, read philosophy books, watch documentaries, etc. Don't just digest stuff you agree with or stuff that makes you warm and fuzzy. Challenge your mind to grow, and you will be amazed on what you learn. So those are some action steps for you. So what I want to do, guys, in the last 6 to 7 minutes here is I've worked very hard in the past 8 to 9 weeks. I've done a lot of thought, I've done a lot of planning, and I've come up with some offerings that I would like to offer you today. So as someone that you're watching my webinar today, and hopefully I've given you some value, hopefully you've learned some things that, food for thought that you can apply to your life and learn. I'm going to challenge you to continue to take some other courses that I have and that I offer. Now, first of all, I'm going to just talk really as my first product is my book. So you can pre-order this on some of the funnels that you'll see. Click here. I'm sure there's a link somewhere around this webinar that you can click, but you can go to www.uversusyoubook.com, uversusyoubook.com, and pre-order yourself a hardback copy. We got some great endorsements on this I'm really pumped about, and it's $19.95. It's going to be delivered, obviously. You can just get it from Amazon right when it comes out, February 19th. You're going to get that copy, okay? So pre-order yourself a copy there, or as many copies as you like on Amazon. Second thing is, you can go to uversusyoubook.com, and you're going to see that I have a virtual coaching course. Now, this is everything that I learned about mindset coaching, how to access your subconscious brain, what meditation does, how to really take control of your subconscious mind. A lot of the stuff that I talked about today, you can apply it. There's over 16 videos. There's 8 meditations that are guided. Some are 5 minutes, some are 25 minutes that you're going to use to lower your brain waves and get into this habit. And, early, right when you wake up, meditate in the middle of the day, 7 days a week, you're going to start this accountability. There's actually live coaching, all a part of it. And right now it's on sale for $97. That's it, $97. It's a $295 value. And even that is so valuable, okay? And it's not just because it's me, it's just all the things I've learned over the past 2 decades of how to really be successful in your mind, how to unleash your winning mindset. And it's really a master class. So all of that's there for you for $97. That's it. So the book, $19.95. Get the course now while it's still on sale for $97. That's it. And I'm telling you, you can go through that 24 hours. It's available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. There's going to be 7 lessons in that course that you're going to learn on really how to unleash your winning mindset, going from old self to new self, and really understanding how the mind works and how your mind controls everything. If you can control this, you can control your heart, you can control your body, your physical body, and of course, make wiser choices and really become the person that you really want to become. And so from there, I also am offering now one-on-one coaching. Now, I've been a one-on-one coach now for 2.5 years, and I'm just going to be really real with you. I've had great clients and I've had not so good clients. And the reason I chose the not so good clients is because I have a big heart and I want to coach everyone. But now I'm at the point in my life where I don't want to coach everybody. I want to coach high-end, high-performance people that want massive results of their life. And they're willing to pay for it. They're willing to be accountable for it. And they're willing to get absolutely serious in the battle of themselves, of you versus you. They're what we call beyond driven. They want to take their life to the next level. And they're great people. And first of all, I want to associate with those people in general. But if you're interested in 3 parts, I coach people one-on-one in 3 different ways. Number 1 is going to be one-on-one mindset coaching. Really, maybe you're struggling, maybe in your marriage, maybe you're struggling in your mindset. Maybe it's negative thinking all the time. Maybe you struggle from depression, anxiety, fear, anger, all those things that I've struggled with and I still have to really make sure that I'm at point with. That's what I can coach you on. Really take you through that journey of everything that I know, break that habit of who you really are and become a complete different version of yourself. But it's going to take time. It's going to take coaching. It's going to take guidance. It's going to take homework. And it's going to take me and you building that relationship, that coaching relationship. And that's really the first division of it's mindset coaching to help you one-on-one, okay? So the details are going to be in the funnel that you're going to see all about that with a video with me about it. Second is really something I'm really pumped about. It's kind of like more fun coach. Not that that's not fun, because it's very serious to really help someone change their whole life. But maybe you go through that and now it's like, okay, I've changed some things. I feel good about it. I feel accountable. I feel like I can speak with authority on success and significance. And you want to take your brand to the next level. You want to take your message. So the second division of my coaching is called M3 coaching. So what is M3? Okay. M3 is learning your message, being able to share your message. Number 2, that method in which you're sharing your message through technology, through Facebook, through social media, whatever it is, sharing that message. Then number 3, your monetization. How to actually make money, maybe launching a business or launching a coaching company or being an author or social media and actually making money. In the past couple of years, I've made lots of money, lots of great income while I was working my network marketing business, coaching and masterminds and stuff like that. I mean, we're talking, I don't know the exact number, which isn't important, but hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars. And I've learned so much. I've learned what I don't want and I've learned what I do want. So I feel I can speak with authority on this. I've taken people through this process already that have gone on to have massive successful careers. Some of them actually became millionaires. Some have amazing presence on social media, etc. So we really call it M3, and that's something that we're going to build a community around, and we're going to help you brand and monetize and know that message through a lot of the challenges and failures that you've gone through in your life, okay? That is what I do as well. For people one-on-one. And then the last thing with one-on-one is becoming a coach. So maybe you go through mindset coaching, you go through, your brand, your M3, and then now you're like, I want to launch a coaching practice. I want to become a leader. I want to develop other leaders. I've done that my whole career, actually, developing leaders. And I'm now developing coaches that really go on to have successful practices, successful companies, businesses that really know what to look for and have the best people that they can possibly imagine flock to them through funnels, through social media, through delivering their message, and of course, through their own skill set and their own delivery of their passion. So those are the really three divisions of my one-on-one coaching. Now I'm only taking on a certain amount of clients because I'm only one guy. I also have the book coming out early next year. I have a book tour, speaking engagements. So there's only a few spots left for these divisions. And I just want to share with you, I'm really qualifying people and really working with the best of the best to build a solid community of battle-tested warriors that really go on and do incredible, significant things in not only their life, but in the lives of others. The virtual coaching class is really for the masses. That's why the price point's only $97, normally $295. And of course, the book, we're trying to get that obviously the right demographics and people and to share the message right here in book form. So again, in closing, guys, I'm so happy that you watched this webinar. I'm so happy that you've taken the time to really just let me be able to share my message with you, because I am just so passionate about helping you. I really am. I wouldn't do this if I wasn't. It's taken a lot of time. It's taken a lot of energy. It's taken a lot of money. It's taken a lot of investment. It's taken a lot of hiring and learning the right way and the wrong way, and a lot of failures and ups and downs the past 3 to 4 years, really the past 15 years of being an entrepreneur. So I really just encourage you, if any of that sounds incredible to you, go ahead and get that done. Sign up for the virtual coach. Everyone can just do that now. Get the virtual coaching. Let me walk you through that 24, round the clock, at your own pace and at your own discretion. And then from there, let's talk about one-on-one. Let's see if you qualify, and let's see if we can work together and build that relationship. So, and even if you want to be a coach and your passion is to, monetize and really even make great money doing the things that you love and adding value, and even maybe launching your virtual class and using different platforms that maybe I'm using, that's what these coaching one-on-one platforms are all about. So I look forward to working with you. Thank you so much for watching this. It's been my absolute pleasure. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. Thank you so much for following me on social media. Share this message. It would mean the world to me. The greatest thank you that you can ever get is just buy my book minimum. Just literally pre-order your book. It's the greatest thank you if I've ever blessed you, if I've ever added value to you. Like I said, my goal is to get the word out, to be a bestseller, so that a lot of doors could open for me, so I can truly live my passion on what I've always wanted to do for years and years and years. So thank you so much for your support and your encouragement. I hope I've added a little bit of value to you tonight. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.